Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and next to me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. Hey, Doc.
Hey.
We got a 5-star review.
What?
Yeah. They keep rolling in right now.
Holy shit, I can't believe it.
I know. It's almost like people they love us. They really, really love us.
I mean, I shit on your technique of desperate pleading, but it seems to be working. So
hey,
just keep it up.
It works for my love life. It works for my podcast. So we got a 5-star review on iTunes from J3KC.
Totally normal name.
Yep. Colin's not here to make fun of it. With the title, The Cure for Your Marvel Blues.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Shots fired.
Exactly. They go on to say, really enjoying the show. The hosts are enthusiastic and knowledgeable about all things DC. Covers a topic in an episode and fields questions on that subject. Just make sure the kids aren't in the room for this one. Good stuff.
That's a fair warning.
Yeah. I double checked to make sure it wasn't a Rossi that wrote that.
Right. Do you remember this was basically a year ago now when I said maybe we should put an explicit tag on the show and you said I'm sure it's fine.
We did end up putting it on. Yeah. I thought long hard about that. I was like, man, it's probably for the best.
I actually had to pitch that.
I don't know why. It's not like we've gotten multiple comments about how inappropriate and how much we swear.
No, that's never happened.
No, not even one.
Well, holy shit. Thanks for the 5-star review.
I know. If you want to send a 5-star review, you can do it through iTunes. Just go onto your Apple account or create one very quickly, and it helps us out a whole lot. I will, if you scroll to the end, I will do this again.
Say that again.
Yeah. Now on to the pull list.
Straight to the polls.
There's really only one thing that I want to talk about.
And I mean, frankly, I actually forgot about this because we were going to talk about it months ago. And
do you need to look through it?
No, it's okay. Just tell me who's in it. We both read Green Lantern Earth 1.
Fuck. I loved it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I did too, but I don't think I was expecting that strong a reaction.
So, I mean, I had a feeling just going into it. I think just the way that it had been framed and all the information that had gotten preceding it, I knew that it was I love sci-fi. I just found that Green Lantern prior was more DC craziness and less actual true sci-fi. I feel I never really got that sense of sci-fi. Also, I feel there was it never felt like a place that I could jump in.
Sure.
So I just
there's too much going on.
Yeah, I just never had that moment where it was this is my the way that you're this is my Batman or this is my Flash. There's these touch points the Flash TV show and the Batman the animated series
sure.
and things like that actually pull you into these characters. I never had that moment for Green Lantern, and the only thing that was really available, at least film wise, was not something that really pulled you into the character.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Never happened. So when I started seeing the original images for this, I was like, oh, this is more of a near future sci-fi sort of more true explanation.
Well, the pitch too, when they started putting some images out, was that they were sort of taking inspiration from Alien and stuff like that.
Yeah,
aesthetically, how the panels looked and
totally did.
Industrial, the space ships and stuff like that looked. Yeah,
exactly. So what's that TV show, the one that they got canceled and got brought back recently, starts with an E, it's a sci-fi
Expanse?
The Expanse. So this reminds me a lot of that.
Okay.
One, because I think that the Expanse starts about with space mining,
Sure.
which is how this starts, and so you get that. It's that very near future sort of sci-fi idea. But I immediately started reading this and fell in love with it. I was like, oh, this is super grounded.
Yeah.
I was like. Because I mean, I've heard obviously of Hal Jordan, but I never they used his full name, and that was really kind of
oh, Harold.
Yeah. I was just Harold. I'm like, that's a little close. Oh, Hal, Harold. Yeah. And then they say it in the next page, and I was like, they call him Hal, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I don't know, what were your first reactions to this?
I did really like it. Just for those, just a quick recap. This basically the premise of this Earth 1 Green Lantern story is, they're doing some space mining for, was it like Ferris Galactic or whatever, instead of Ferris Air. Hal Jordan was a former test pilot, is now working for them. And they're kind of like, it's like bust. They're not finding what they need to find. And then he accidentally stumbles across the spaceship of Abin Sur and finds his ring. And basically in this book, instead of the ring like choosing someone, it's just like a tool to be used.
But so, I mean, they kind of,
so when Abin Sur died, his ring was just there. So then Hal like takes the ring and then sort of is introduced to the world of Green Lantern, or the lore of Green Lantern, but he's like one of the last of them.
Well,
in this book,
I think. I mean, you say that the ring doesn't choose him, but I wonder if there's sort of like a predestined thing that's in this, because they kind of keep leaning on that like, because I mean, they're not pointing towards anybody who got the ring being a bad person. They've mentioned that that's possible, but you never see anybody like that. So I'm wondering if there is...
In a bigger sense, there might be some sort of like fate or something at work. But my point is, if he was in a fight and someone took the ring off his finger and
they could put it on,
they could just use it.
Yeah.
Which is different than sort of how the main Green Lantern universe works.
Though they keep bringing up like the previous Green Lanterns and talking about using will as a reference that they use. So I mean, like, they are still like winking towards a lot of the like nomenclature of previous books.
It's pretty close. It's just like a slight distinction.
One of the things that I loved was, I mean, yes, you were talking about like a sort of post sort of privatized space future, but they like, I love the fact that they were like, oh, like, how long have you been working on these mines? And he's like, oh, I've been up here a long time. And then you find out that like they keep being like, oh, you were with NASA, like, oh, you were NASA, like, oh, I heard that was so honorable and things like that. I loved that they have this sort of wink towards that.
Yeah, that it's been so long that they're like nostalgically referring to a pre-commercial space industry, basically.
Which it feels so realistic in a lot of ways. So I mean, this brought up a lot of questions because I don't know a lot about Green Lantern's lore a lot. So constantly I'm like, is this a thing from previous books? So like, where are the sort of crossovers from like Green Lantern lore throughout?
Most of what's in there has a place in like the main continuity of Green Lantern. So the main villains of this are the Manhunters. They're a robot army basically that is emotionless. So in this book, they're the ones that sort of wiped out the Green Lanterns. In main continuity, it's the reverse. The Manhunters were the first force that the Guardians made, but they had no emotion and couldn't distinguish sort of right from wrong.
It's a really easy switch, So
then they created the Green Lanterns to replace them, basically. But the Manhunters are like villains of Green Lanterns. You know, like some of them get reactivated or whatever. And so those are standard Green Lantern villains.
So the native sort of creatures to Oa, are they always painted in this like negative light, or is that something that this book did?
Well, I think like originally you're meant to think of them as benevolent and all-knowing, but as the years have gone on, every time you learn something about the Guardians, it's usually that they've been hiding something, or that they've fucked something up, or that they're trying to cover their own tracks or something like that. Other stuff. So in this book, you meet Kilowog on his homeworld of Bolivax Vic. In Bolivax Vic in main continuity famously does not exist, and you see that happen in this book.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
you see his planet get destroyed.
God, I love Kilowog. Like, I think like there's definitely some like plot jumpy kind of moments throughout this book. That I think that would be my only gripe throughout this entire sort of reviewing of it, is that I want more. Like, I wish that they would tell more of these like in between pieces.
Well, hopefully if they make a volume 2, then we can like spend some, because basically through this book, Hal and then Kilowog and then like a couple of, they're basically like rebuilding the Green Lantern Corps to fight the Manhunters.
Yeah.
So hopefully if they do like a volume 2, then we'll start with the core and we can maybe explore like some of those like other pieces a little bit more.
I love the way that they didn't know how to use the ring, so they were just using them as these sort of power beams, and it really only until the very end does he even create anything with it. I love that, because I was just like, in the back of your head you're like, I know that they can do more, but they don't even understand why.
And I mean, there's even in the main country, so Jessica Cruz, one of the newer Green Lanterns, her thing is that she's been like trying to overcome her anxiety and fear for a very long time. She could only do like blasts and stuff.
Oh, really?
It took her like a bunch of issues before she even made a construct. So it's kind of neat to see them play with that. That's like an actual thing. It's a thing you have to learn. And if you don't have a core and a trainer and stuff like that, like it's almost by accident that you'd stumble across it or figure it out.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Like I loved the part. So what happens is basically, Hal Jordan gets attacked by one of the Manhunters and then basically blacks out in space because after like having a big battle and then wakes up on Kilowog's planet. And I love the moment where he's just like, you need to help me learn how to use this. Kilowog is speaking to Hal and Hal's just like, I don't know how to use it. I love that like that moment where neither of them know what they're doing. And then Hal's just like, well, you know more than me, so you've got to teach me how to use this. Like,
yeah, because they both inherited these rings. They, Kilowog sort of half knows the history of the core or knows of the legend of the core,
but because of the Manhunters basically like hunting everybody down, everybody's so afraid to use it that it's been passed down to him, he doesn't know anything just based on like the fear of his planet. And
that's the ultimate thing that I love about this story is that, I mean, Green Lantern is always about will conquering fear, but this is very literally like the people with the most powerful weapon in the universe are the ones that are the most afraid because of what happened to the ones that came before them, basically. Like every member of the core has to overcome like their fear in this book. It's really awesome. The artwork it's so
amazing.
Stellar. That kind of dark palette like we talked about that sort of makes me think of movies like Alien, or it's got that sort
it's
of
some
grimy,
of the best
industrial sci-fi sort of thing going on.
Perfectly matches like even just like the panel lines, like everything is so perfectly matched to the book. I'm not finding any of those moments that I do in comics sometimes where I'm confused of where I'm going next. Like, and
the panel layout's really straightforward.
It's great, and I don't find myself looking over either because it's all very seamless. That you're not like seeing what's happening next. You're very, very seamlessly following through.
Well, the palette's kind of like pretty uniform, right? Like it's all basically greenish and into sort of like yellowy tones, even though the Manhunter robots are red. Like the panel itself sort of has like a green wash to it. So yeah, when you're flipping a page, there's not necessarily like something bright orange like over on the other page to like draw your focus. It's pretty like consistent that way. In many ways, to me, it feels kind of like a film. When
this would be such a good movie.
Like
God,
like there are films that are very stylized and they have like a palette. Like a color palette to them. Like The Matrix had that green wash
throughout the entire
over
thing.
the whole movie. And this feels like that a little bit. Like it's a deliberate sort of choice that way. It's not just when things are green. It's that the whole thing has this sort of glow to it.
And you're getting these awesome concepts of different types of planets through, even though you're only just getting these sort of brief touches.
Yeah.
You're really getting a sense of what these sort of planets are like. When I can't remember who was the that female Green Lantern.
Is it Arisia?
Yes. Yeah. When they show up on her planet and they think that they're the big trees that are cut off, and you find out they're actually like mechanical, and they go down into it. Oh God! And they're like inside this sort of mechanical root system that's this big cavern. You really get your mind really like fills in the holes and you really can see what exactly you're looking at. It's
That's
just
that sci-fi thing that you were talking about, though, right? It's like the wonder of like the exploration of these places or like meeting these people. It's like what makes something like Star Trek interesting is it's not just like people on a ship shooting lasers. It's like, where do you go?
But it's also not just like
what's the culture like, or what's the
It's also not just like, oh, it's Green Lantern doing cool stuff on Earth.
Yeah.
But it's also not like, here's just a bunch of aliens fighting. I don't have any, like you get the sense of like you're discovering everything just the same way that they are.
Yeah.
And like every time they show just a glimpse of a planet, I'm like, I want a comic about that planet.
Right.
Like I want to know everything that there is to know about that, which I haven't gotten from a comic in a really long time.
Yeah.
Like I feel like God, it just makes me want this to be the movie. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I don't know that it like knocked my socks off, but I mean, like I loved it. I don't want that to come off like I didn't enjoy it or something like that. I don't think I had like quite as like huge a reaction as you, but I get it. You
get that buddy cop thing without it being like the lanterns like even being like up and going. Like you're already getting a sense of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's them trying to work together. They're sort of like unwilling slash like unexpected partners, like Hal and Kilowog are. You get it without the cartoonish, like your gun and your badge.
No,
like
but it like, shit, and it builds that relationships really, really quickly. Like by the end of it, you feel that they have this relationship.
Yeah.
Like, which I mean, to be able to do that in such a small book, like super impressive. Is there any other like Green Lantern book that you feel like is ahead of this? Like,
okay. In terms of like an entry point, meeting some characters, being like sort of like guided through and brought through the world, no.
Come at me, Bokelman.
I don't think there is, because I think this book does do a great job of that. Are there Green Lantern stories I enjoy more than this? Yes, but that also comes with either just
a ton of knowledge,
taking for granted you're not going to know things, or you're coming in with a bunch of like background knowledge or things like that. Like I think I preferred Sinestro Corps War to this story, like story wise. But if you don't know certain things going in, it's not a surprise to me that this would maybe top people's lists if they were sort of discovering Green Lantern, right?
I know this is a weird parallel, but this feels like this is my Superman for all seasons for Green Lantern.
I mean, yeah.
Like you really get a sense of the character more than just like the abilities and the lore. Like you get an understanding of like who Hal Jordan is. You get there's this tonal thing that goes through the entire book that like really paints like what it's like to be him in this situation. What is this sort of universe like?
Yeah. What I will say about those Earth One books in general, maybe with the exception of Morrison's Wonder Woman, Earth One, is that I think all of them do what you're describing. It's less about maybe the action set piece or like the superheroics and more about like the core of the character. Like Superman Earth One, the first volume of it does such a great job of setting up all these different like aspects of Cal, that he's super smart, that he's like incredibly kind, that he's very selfless, blah, 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 blah. The Batman Earth One books really like hammer the suffering home, right? Like in even for Batman in a way that's like, holy shit, like this is, he's got issues. Because in the Batman Earth One, you see him like he goes to like jump from roof to roof and he like falls. You're like, oh fuck, like he's like like, and he's still doing this. Like, what's wrong with him? It sort of paints the image of the character maybe a bit more interestingly or a bit more dramatically, or it's got like a maybe like higher like literary aspiration than like just the weekly or the like every 2 week kind of comics do. And this Green Lantern one definitely fits that sort of pattern to me.
Without a doubt. I think like, I feel like this is like if you took like The Dark Knight and Guardians of the Galaxy and made them into something, that's what this would be. That like, you get this sort of like big adventure thing, but you also get sort of like,
it's pretty grounded.
And
I think part of that too is because
realistic.
They don't figure out the constructs, right? Like, I think part of the thing that like makes, I mean, it's part of what makes Green Lantern amazing, but it also kind of removes it even further from our reality than a space cop can be, is that it's like, you just think it and you just make anything. You like go through space in like a Corvette because you're thinking it. Like, that's a thing that really separates you. But like, if it's just this tool and you don't know how to use it and it's taking all this sort of like physical, emotional strain on you, and you know, like that, I think that really grounds that story, right?
I think this is a proof that you can do Green Lantern without the constructs. Like,
yeah, I would still want to see,
but I think you get that payoff at the end, though. Like, exactly. You get that sort of like it, instead of just like right away he puts on the ring and he's suddenly like, whoa, I've got a giant hammer. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You actually like get that sort of like you earned that like construct moment at the end.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I won't ruin some of the great payoffs at the end and like how you like. There's some really great stuff that like I don't want to spoil, but I love the way that they handle sort of the lore and like how they could move forward. And
this is it is a terrific book. I really enjoyed it. It's a great like contained story.
Yeah.
Certainly anyone who doesn't already have like even if you do, frankly, have like a foot in the Green Lantern door, should check it out. Because even though the stuff isn't like exactly like the main continuity, like you'll get it. You know, like how the ring works roughly, who the characters are roughly, what drives them roughly. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, details are different. Like, oh, the Manhunters came first in this one. Or like, that's less important than the stuff that we've been talking about. Like what, you know, what's sort of driving them, or, you know, what defines them, what particulars, you know, like Hal in any book is like a guy who should have had everything, but was kind of not living up to his own potential.
Yeah.
Right? And that's definitely true in this one, but he's doing it for slightly different reasons. He's sort of like self-imposed kind of exile on this space mine sort of thing. But it's the same, like you get the same like feeling out of it, I think. So it's great. Like intro to those characters. The art's amazing. The writing's really solid. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
I think if you're interested to know if you might like Green Lantern, this is the book that's going to give you that understanding that it's a world that you want to play in, and I think so. Yeah. I think you can expand from that. Beyond that, goddamn, do I want another of these books? Right. And this just came out.
That's the one thing with these Earth One.
They come out once every like 3 years. They
take so goddamn long.
Like
I mean, they're great. Like the only one I haven't read is the Teen Titans one, which I actually don't know that much about.
Me either. I'd be super interested.
The art looked interesting. Aqualad looked more fishy than human.
Something looks fishy.
Yeah. But in general, like I've really enjoyed these books, but it just takes so fucking long for them to come out.
Well, now I also want to read all the other ones. Like
I have some. Yeah. Yeah, you can borrow some of mine.
I'd be very curious. Yeah, to see like, I mean, I know that it's not the same people on all the Earth ones, but.
No. Yeah, it's like Michael Straczynski does Superman, Jeff Johns does Batman, Morrison does Wonder Woman. Yeah.
But I mean, I think like they must walk into, like whoever's putting them on these books must be at least going like, these are the types of books that Earth Ones are. Like they're at least a type of book. I think
there's a general sort of guiding principle. But the great thing about them is even though they all technically take place on Earth 1, where the main continuity is Earth 0.
Yeah.
They don't have to reference each other, and they like the continuity is super loose, which means each of these books can stand on its own, basically.
Yeah, they're not being like, oh, and that's Superman the other day.
Yeah, well, exactly. And they're not like, well, actually, like we set up in this other book that this is a thing. So like Hal can't be a space miner because like none of that is.
No.
They do have like a pretty free range on sort of reimagining these origins. This is ridiculous because it'll never get made because I'm nobody. But
except for the fact that DC.
I've had an idea in my head for a Martian Manhunter Earth 1 that I would. I mean, I don't know how.
You want to blow your load right now? Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it because I'll just quietly hold on to it and harbor resentment for the fact that it'll never get made. But
if you write it and release it, then it's your own fault. But if you just keep it in your mind, then it's their loss.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. If this way I can't.
They only knew. Yeah. It's a good approach from life, I think.
Oh, I just got sad.
Welcome to my house. So let's talk about this week's theme.
Yeah, let's do it. Archenemies.
Yeah, hell yeah. I think you know what's funny? It was one of those ones that I read and I was like, didn't we already do this? Like,
I mean, we like the villains of heroes come up to specifically talk about
the arch-nemesis.
Yeah, like what that role is, right? We haven't done that yet. So I thought that would be kind of fun. And it's pretty broad, you know, like it's not like we're doing like a Batman episode or something like that.
No, absolutely. But I was like,
we actually got very few Batman related things.
I would be very disappointed if we didn't at least get one, though.
I mean, you're always going to get one.
Yeah, DC.
He's the goddamn Batman.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Facebook.
Go to the Facebook. Go to the Facebook.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll have to do everything on this episode.
I'm here for you, buddy.
I appreciate it. Adam Upper.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, buddy. What's up?
His archenemy is Adam Downer. Or Eve Downer. Shock you.
So Adam asks, who is Martian Manhunter's opposite? Does Gnort have one? Oh, God. Fuck yeah. These are things that people need to know.
I'll answer the second question.
Please, I'm enthralled.
Gnort actually does
Really?
have an arch nemesis. He's the Scarlet Skier. His name is Dren Keeg, which are the words nerd and geek backwards.
Of course.
He's basically like a parody of the Silver Surfer.
Oh my
so
god.
where the Silver Surfer is the herald of Galactus, the Scarlet Skier is the herald of Mr. Nebula, which is this giant character that wears all these like big, like colorful clothes.
Of course.
The Scarlet Skier is like wildly incompetent, and Gnort accidentally thwarts him. And so he like decides he's gonna get like revenge on Gnort, and he tries to, and he like fails, and Gnort's like accidentally tripping him up. Like Gnort doesn't even know he has an enemy, basically.
It's like a Mr. Magoo kind of situation.
To the point where the Scarlet Skier decides he's going to kill himself, and he throws himself off I think it's the World Trade Center.
Oh.
And Gnort saves him and then offers him a position as his sidekick.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think they do briefly like work together on the Justice League Antarctica, which was like a joke team. But yeah, so Gnort does have an arch enemy, or he didn't know it, but he did, and that's the Scarlet Skier.
That's awesome.
Martian Manhunter. We'll probably touch on this idea a lot in this episode, but a lot of heroes have what I would call like their opposite, and then they have like a mirror villain. So the opposite is like, as the word implies, they're the like diametric of whatever that hero is, right?
Yeah.
The mirror is like a twisted version of them. So for Martian Manhunter, you could basically pick either of these, and I think there's a strong case to be made for archenemy status for both. The opposite, I would say, is someone like Despero, who was initially a Justice League villain, but every time he fought the Justice League, he really ended up against Martian Manhunter. Despero has some similar powers to Martian Manhunter, including like psychic abilities, and he's like a physical powerhouse.
Yeah.
But he was like a despotic ruler of like his world and things like that. And they have fought many, many times. But he kind of just wants to destroy, and the Martian Manhunter obviously wants to sort of protect and save. In one adventure in the 90s, the Martian Manhunter defeated him by... There's this thing that Martians can do called the Mayavana, which is like a psychic illusion so powerful that like you're sort of trapped in it. It's like your greatest wish, and it's a thing a Martian can only do once, so they usually give it to the person they love, but Martian Manhunter has nobody, and he had to defeat Despero, so he like trapped him in this like Mayavana illusion that he was constantly killing the Martian Manhunter.
Whoa.
So he used this like once in a lifetime thing on him. In a New 52 comic, Despero is like on the Justice League Watchtower and is destroying it, and it's crashing to Earth. And out of nowhere, the Martian Manhunter like shows up, like rips a hole, is basically in the side, and he says something to the effect of like, every time we fought, you thought that like I was giving it everything I had, and I was not.
Oh my god!
And he like really mentally messes him up.
That's awesome.
The other, like the mirror one, is Ma'alafa'ak, who's actually his like brother, his half brother.
Hey, a Malafag.
Hey, a Ma'alafa'ak. In the pre-New 52 continuity, Ma'alafa'ak was actually the one responsible for the psychic genocide of the Martians. Like, he's the reason there are no Martians. He created this
psychic genocide.
Yeah, it was like a psychic, basically disease, like a virus. It caused like mental flames, and then caused Martians to burst into flame and like physically kill them.
Whoa!
It was called Hranmir's Curse, and he did it to wipe out all the Martians. And Dr. Erdell's like accidental teleport beam saved Johns before it happened to him. So that's why he's the last one. So yeah, he and Ma'alafa'ak are basically brothers. So they're kind of like the mirror ones. So I would say Despero or Ma'alafa'ak, sometimes called Malefic, just to make it easier. I think either of those are strong contenders for archenemies of Martian Manhunter.
Nice. So Michael O'Brien sends us a question.
Sure.
He says, just in general, discuss how good Prometheus could be, but they dropped the ball.
Have we talked about Prometheus before?
I don't. I feel like maybe it's come up like just in passing, but like I don't think we've actually gotten in any depth about it.
So tell me if this sounds familiar.
Okay.
A child witnesses his parents be murdered and swears a vow and dedicates his life to training.
Dexter. Yeah, I've seen that. It's good. Great show. Season 4 really drops the ball.
Is that actually it?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He has a Batman origin?
Yeah.
What a stupid fucking show.
Yeah, he sees his mother murdered in like a train car.
Oh.
And just like he's there just like covered in blood and then becomes a serial killer because
Did
of
Hercule Poirot discover who killed her? It's Murder on the Orient Express joke. Hint, it was everyone.
Jacques?
But basically, yeah, Prometheus, his parents, though, were like sort of like Bonnie and Clyde style criminals, and they were gunned down by the cops. And so his vow that he swears is basically against quote unquote justice.
Whoa.
He dedicates himself to all this training, but his ultimate thing is that he has this it's like he has an eidetic memory, but he also has this computer that has like the 30 greatest martial artists programmed into it or whatever, including Batman. Basically, Prometheus's thing is that
I know Kung Fu.
like the Greek Prometheus, he's through training and through this computer, he's like stolen the fire of the gods. It's the fire of knowledge, right? He's a super dangerous villain. He's taken down the entire Justice League easily, including Batman, easily.
Wow.
He destroyed Star City, for which Green Arrow killed him in a story called Cry for Justice. Basically, Prometheus has planted all these bombs and he's trying to negotiate with the Justice League. Like, if you let me, I'll tell you where the bombs are and how to stop them if you let me go. And then Star City is destroyed and the Justice League basically caves. They were like, we can't have other cities get destroyed. We'll let you go. Tell us how to stop it.
Wow.
And Green Arrow's like, no. And he basically like hides out in Prometheus's lair and just straight cold murders him.
Wow.
In the New 52, just to bring this back to archenemies, Prometheus has fought like a version of the Justice League, but they sort of set him up as the opposite to Midnighter, who we talked about last week. If you remember, Midnighter has a fight computer in his brain that puts him he can predict the outcome of any combat situation. So in a way, Prometheus is kind of like the perfect like foil for him, that they both sort of have this sort of predictive, strategic capacity. And in that story, Prometheus actually, in his like civilian disguise, basically like seduces and starts a relationship with Midnighter, and like it's like weird mental games in there too.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know where the drop the ball thing what that specifically refers to. Other than I think the idea might be that Prometheus is like so dangerous or so overpowered that it's difficult to reasonably sort of end him, or like end a story with him. I think once Batman and Martian Manhunter put him in like a psychic loop because they didn't think any prison could hold him, or he also, in the pre-Flashpoint, he could travel in and out of basically the Phantom Zone, so they couldn't even put him in there.
Oh my god.
I think he's just tough to write because for a while he had so many abilities. I think the New 52 Prometheus is slightly more reined in. I think he's a little more manageable as a villain. Mm-hmm. Less threatening, I suppose, but perhaps more like interesting as for like writers. But yeah.
Yeah, I find that like when will comic book writers stop creating these characters that have all of the powers?
Well, this is the thing though, right? You're always trying to who's like, they've defeated all these threats. We need a threat they can't defeat.
I know,
and then they do defeat. You know what I mean? Like it's like this. It's infinite growth. It's like the stock market. It's like based on like a foolish proposition of infinite growth.
So then they just reboot.
Yeah. 1929. That was the big stock market reboot. Started back at number ones for everybody.
Exactly. All right, let's head over to Twitter.
All right. Twitter.
Are you okay? Oh.
Click.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. Our first question from Stump Chunkman.
Stump. Step into the stump.
I like
your job is more difficult than I assumed it was.
Yeah, it's just constant. Did you want to do the soundboard too?
I'm a father.
It was funny. I was listening to a podcast that I really, really like, the Meme Boys podcast.
You're right.
Recently, and I went back and they used to use a soundboard, which I didn't realize. And I was listening to it and I was like, man, I gotta stop using a soundboard. I was like, I don't like this at all. So if you guys like the soundboard, send us a message. Hashtag I'm on soundboard.
Okay. Yeah. Hashtag I'm on soundboard.
Yeah.
And or like it.
Hashtag water soundboard.
Oh, Jesus. Fucking grim.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Or don't do anything and I'll just stop. Whatever. All right. Stump Junkman asks, who's your nemesis?
I can give a slightly earnest answer to this. In high school, I had an archenemy.
Ooh, tell me.
His name was Matt Dick.
I mean, appropriate.
Right? Yeah, I actually, he never really wronged me. I just thought he was a douchebag. Yeah,
you never got in fights or anything?
No, but we were both like...
You kind of look like a bully back then.
We were both in like student governance, and I thought he was super
pretentious. So you were both dorks.
But I think we were both pretentious is probably what it was.
I've seen photos of you. I'm pretty sure you were.
This was probably one of those things where we were maybe more similar than I wanted to admit. But one time, I do remember this. He went to a different school. Like, we had a rivalry like across the region.
Oh, whoa. Unheard of.
He sent a pie to my high school addressed to me as like as an olive branch, and I immediately threw it out because I saw what I considered to be a stain on the crust, and I thought he like jizzed in the pie or something like that, and I was like, fuck it, if I'm eating this pie, and I just threw it out.
Now I'm gonna kill him.
I'm actually positive that he just sent a nice pie. But I was like, I like really like hated this guy.
Have you found him on Facebook?
No.
I feel like I need to now
we have a couple of mutual friends who were like, oh, you're the guy, like they knew from the other side.
Oh my God.
You're the guy that hates Matt. Like, I don't think he hated me the way I hated him. I think like for me, it was like, he's my enemy. And then like his friends were like, you're the guy that hates Matt.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
So that's like the earnest answer. My current archenemy, of course, I'm Dr. DC. My current archenemy is the Marvel Master, but we don't talk about them.
Who's the Marvel Master?
We'll never find out.
Oh my God.
I've trapped them in the Phantom Zone.
I'm like, are they a listener on this podcast?
I'm sure someone is like, I'm the Marvel Master. And then we'll have them on, and I'll have to hate them because I said that they were...
I'm just like, I can think of a specific person who likes to cosplay.
Oh, really? Am I supposed to know who this is? Did they send me a pie?
Somebody who asks questions at live shows?
Because I straight up am not going to eat that pie. I might.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
What kind of pie is it?
Yeah. There's probably a ranking system for pies where I'd be like, even if there's a little jizz in it.
What's your top pie?
Ooh, shit. Banana cream.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you even know at that point?
How would I know whose banana cream was in that? Yeah.
I sure banana creamed in that pie. That's really, really funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, mine's got to be pecan pie.
Ooh, yeah.
Have you ever had a peanut butter pie?
Peanut butter pie? Is it just like a giant Reese cup?
No, it's similar to like a banana cream pie.
Oh, okay.
But it's peanut butter instead of banana flavored custard.
I mean, I'm sure I would love that. I like peanut butter everything.
Right?
Yeah.
I had it. It was unreal.
Do you have an arch enemy?
So I know I've been trying to like pass through that. So I've had multiple.
You used to be like a musician. Was there like a rival band that like when they booked a gig,
there is
like, fuck you guys?
There is. There was a band that we fucking hated called their name was Ask.
Oh, that's a stupid.
You can look them up. I don't even care if they find out
Was
that.
it ask question mark?
No.
That would be fucking stupid.
No, it's
too.
just ask.
Okay.
And they, we both had we were on tour and ended up in an out of town, like in Toronto.
Like with each other?
No, just
sorry,
separately.
okay.
Like both of us were on tour, ended up on a show together in Toronto.
Right.
And they played before us, which we found out they were really not happy about, and then left after they were done and didn't stay for the rest of the bands. And so from that point on, we fucking hated them.
Right.
And like we found out they were dicks anyways. But so they were my band arch-nemesis for a very, very long time, because I was just like, look, if you're playing in a band, you stay for all the other bands.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're
that way there's guaranteed audience.
I don't care if you're the first band or you're the last band.
Yeah.
You stay and you see the whole
thing. I imagine the same is true for comedians and things like that.
I would think so as well. I think it's common courtesy, and like sometimes it's hard to get people to watch your band.
Sure.
So having other band members in there is sometimes the most audience that you'll get. So it's important. So that when you go, it's funny when you go back to like grade school and high school, like I got in a lot of fights because I'm a mouthy man.
You?
Yeah, I know.
Wait, when you say got in fights, you mean you said you were too mouthy and then someone decked you, or did you actually fight?
I got like
Or did you have people fight for you?
No. I got into fights because of my mouth, and sometimes won and sometimes didn't.
Sure.
It really depended on who it was and how I was dealing with it. But so there was like a lot of them in like grade school. I ended up making friends with later, who I talked to after and were just like, I was a jerk to you, I'm sorry. And so I'm pretty, I don't hold a grudge very easily.
Yeah.
In high school it was funny because I went to like more of like, I think what like a millennial high school is probably now, where like the like cool kids were actually like the really good in school kids.
Oh, weird.
So like at my school, like all of the like popular kids were like the ones who were like in student council and got really good grades. And
the student council bit was true in my school, not necessarily the grades.
But it was all the smart kids, which was really weird.
That's fair. Okay.
They just happened to be rich, smart, and good looking. Yeah, leave something for the rest of us.
So you went to high school in a TV show.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So I didn't I never got in fights with any of them, but like the smoke behind the like school like gangster kind of kids, the white gangster wannabe kids. Those are the ones who really didn't like me.
Sure.
I mean, that
tracks.
I also wore like knee-high rainbow socks with skate shoes, and like I was a kid. Like I had a trucker hat that was like slightly tilted, and like I was
fucking punk.
Yeah. I really, really wanted to be.
This is punk.
Yeah. This was a punk with like a lowercase p. And so those kids would generally like try to pick on me, and because I couldn't like shut my mouth, I would eventually tell them to go fuck themselves or make fun of how unintelligent they were.
Right.
And then they would end up like trying to fight me at the end of the day.
Right.
So there was a few of those, but none of them that like I could think of.
You're really making my pie story look pretty petty.
One time
you were legitimately getting beaten up, and I was like, no, I bet he jizzed in this pie. This guy that does not hate me that I kind of hate.
But I also did it to myself because I I just couldn't shut my mouth.
Sure.
And so I was constantly getting myself into more trouble than it needed to be.
Sure, yeah.
Like if someone was like yelling at you across the street and it was a group of you and you were by yourself, you probably would just keep walking, right?
Back then, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't though. And I was like, I think in grade 9, I was probably like 95 pounds soaking wet.
Right.
Like,
that's, fair enough.
Shouldn't be fighting anybody. And I didn't get a growth spurt until much later. All that to say, I had multiple arch-nemeses. Nemesis, yeah,
nemesis,
which was to this day I look back at those people and I'm just like, why did I engage? Like I remember like one time like they during like the Frosh week or whatever, like grade 9, like
or like orientation,
orientation week. I remember one of them was older and he like chased me. There was like a fountain next to our school, and like there was like a big like public park,
right.
And in the middle of it was like a fountain. He chased me and forced me to like go into the fountain, sit on one of the like water spurts, and do I'm a Little Teapot.
Jesus Christ, man!
Yeah.
You okay? Fuck.
Yeah, it was okay. Again, I talked my way into
Stump,
that.
great question. Jesus.
Who's I don't think we added this, but Stump Chunkman's enemy.
Oh, who's Stump Chunkman's enemy? I guess it'd have to be some other.
Josh Gill.
It would have to be some other listener. I mean, Stump probably.
Because I think Chad.
Oh yeah, sorry, this did happen. Yes. Stump asked who his enemy would be. Josh. Maybe, or then he wrote like, "Where's Josh Gill?" And then Chad was like, "I think you answered your own question."
That.
I like that. Like our listeners are like making their own canon for like who they're.
I'm wondering if it's just like a "who loves me more" kind of situation,
right?
Because I love you all equally, except for Josh Gill. I love you so much more.
I don't know who Stump's arch-nemesis would be, but if it was like a mirror one, then they would be like
a fan of a Marvel
like
podcast.
Trunk Thin Lady.
Oh, Trunk Thumpman.
Trunk Thin Lady.
Yeah.
Stump Chunkman.
Yeah, okay. I'm.
There you go, Trunk Thin Lady. You can use that. That's yours.
Yeah, that's yours.
You're welcome.
You focus all of your efforts now on taking down Trunk Thin Lady.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question. I don't really care though.
Yeah, good thing we spent like 15 minutes on it.
All right, let's go to Puff Cheek Pastries.
All right.
So he asks, what examples show the lines blurred from jealousy, admiration, or hubris that caused a mirrored villain, which is seen most often and which makes a better story?
Right. So sometimes the villains, it becomes from basically like a perversion of some form of like admiration or whatever. There's a couple of like really key ones. Best one I can think of right now is Hunter Zolomon, aka Zoom. He's Wally West's Reverse Flash, and his whole thing is that he's friends with Wally in real life. He gets crippled in this like accident. And then he asks Wally to like go back in time to uncripple him, and he won't. And then he tries to use the cosmic treadmill and explosion or whatever, and he becomes sort of like disassociated from time. He can like move through time. And then his thing as a Reverse Flash is that he tries to cause tragedy in Wally West's life to make him a better hero. He thinks he like isn't
yes, I do remember you talking about that. Yeah.
So I think that's maybe like the example that comes to mind the most. Is someone like Hunter Zolomon, who's like obsession with, or like they purport to care for or want the best for the hero, but they do it in this really horrible, violent way. Mm-hmm. There was a story in like I think it's the 80s with Hugo Strange where he deduces and finds out the identity of the Batman. But then he's like starts wearing the bat suit and like he's like, oh yeah, I feel so powerful. Like he basically starts like cosplaying as Batman. He's like, I get it. He's like it. So that has like a bit of like a hint of that sort of admiration kind of thing in there.
I like to call this the Stan villain.
Yeah, that's right. You have to understand, I do want you as a fan. I think even with a villain like maybe like Sinestro or something where he's that's not a thing. It doesn't have to do with Hal Jordan, but it has to do with his like role in the Corps. Like he doesn't think that the Green Lantern Corps allows him to be the best law enforcement or force of order that he can be, right?
Yeah.
In his mind, he's still after the same thing as the Green Lanterns. He's just willing to go further, right? I do think that's more compelling than necessarily just evil for evil's sake. Even a character like the Joker, who is objectively just evil.
Yeah.
His like reason to be evil is still the Batman.
Yeah.
Every time that there hasn't been a Batman, the Joker basically stops.
Yeah, because there's no purpose.
It doesn't make him less evil, but there's no fun. Like that's the reason that he does it is because he likes the game. That's not really admiration so much, but it's like it's enjoying that game. It's a weird relationship.
There is admiration in there, though.
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Because, I mean, he chose him.
But I do think that that's more interesting. I mean, any sort of complicated emotion is more interesting. That someone is doing something evil for the purpose of what they believe to be good, or you know what I mean? Like that's
why I'm always...
There's instantly another step in there, right?
That's why I'm always looking for my father's love.
Oh no. Oh no. I thought this was going to be like an episode that you didn't have to edit too heavily. But now And anyway,
And-
that's
and
why
then
I
he
think you
touched
should
me,
cut
yeah.
it out. Just cut that out.
It only happened on holidays.
Fuck me.
That's what he said too. Phil, do we answer the question?
Please God, move on.
Which is seen more often and which makes a better story?
Right, like the
Jealousy,
or
admiration, hubris.
Hubris is probably seen the most often. That's the villain that like thinks they're, that they can't be defeated this time or whatever. You see that all the time. Like, I finally have you beaten, Flash, or like, I think Grodd is a great example of hubris. I think Luthor obviously is a great example of hubris. The Riddler, great example of hubris. I think lots of them are that way. You get that's probably the one you see the most often. I think the admiration thing is interesting, or the perversion of admiration, right? Because that's where you get a character like Hugo Strange or like Hunter Zolomon, or in a even more twisted way, like Dr. Psycho, like the Wonder Woman villain. He's like he has sort of psionic powers, but he's also like he like hates women because he's basically an incel.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, essentially, he's like a dwarf who thinks that like he's been like unfairly shunned by women, and he like hates them, and he has this vendetta against them. He's basically an incel, and that very timely. Maybe we should have a Dr. Psycho story,
Oh, yeah.
in comics again, or in the movies.
Be appropriate.
It would, unfortunately, yeah. Hubris probably most often. The admiration one, I think, is slightly more interesting. You can only have so much of like a villain shaking their fist at the sky, like, you'll never beat me this time.
It's only so interesting.
You need more in there, right? Like,
yeah.
I think even deep down, Luthor wants to be Superman, and that's what like really
bugs him.
Yeah, that's what he hates.
That's why he keeps trying to develop these like ridiculous technologies to get abilities.
All he wants to do is be seen as the savior. He wants to be Superman. He
Yeah.
wants to be but he only wants it in terms of like how people view him. He doesn't necessarily
Want to be good.
He doesn't necessarily want to be good. He just wants to be viewed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So we get a question from Dave Rossi.
All right.
Dave asks, which villain creeps you out, or do you fear the most when they show up?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you have an answer to this one?
Villain that creeps me out. I think that's... I mean, that is really tough. I don't know if there's any that... I mean...
Is there a villain who's like, even their like basic premise got like kind of...
What's his name? The serial killer guy.
Victor Zsasz?
Victor Zsasz, yeah.
The one who leaves like a mark
Yeah.
for every...
That creeps me out a little bit.
Because of the mark thing?
Yeah. Or in the animated series, the
ventriloquist?
ventriloquist, yeah.
Yeah.
That fucking dummy's always creeped me
The
out.
guy who thinks the dummy is like controlling him.
That always creeps the hell out of me. Yeah, I think that's what I'll probably go with. Yeah.
Oh fuck. Creeps me out. Maybe I think in the same vein as Victor Zsasz, it's got to be the ones that like take pleasure in like the really like grotesque or like macabre sort of thing, like Professor Pig, who like performs sort of like unwilling plastic surgeries on people, or the flamingo who like eats people. Or, I mean, Flamingo's a silly villain. I really shouldn't throw him in there. But the concept,
I actually love.
I think
the
you
Flamingo,
can do him in a dark way.
Oh god, I would love for that character.
Frankly,
to come back.
even I know a lot of people didn't like this version, but the New 52 sort of retconned origin of Mr. Freeze, where he's trying to cure his wife Nora, right?
Yeah.
Who's frozen. In the New 52, they sort of retconned it so that like Nora was like frozen since like the 20s.
Oh,
Like it's not his wife. He's like decided she's his wife.
Oh, I like that.
A lot of people didn't, because it just makes him criminally insane. It kind of like ruins.
Doesn't give him like
ruins like the love sort of thing. I see both sides, but that version kind of creeps me out. One that I just fear. So when I read Blackest Night, I hadn't read the stuff that led up to it, like Sinestro Corps War or stuff like that. So I hadn't seen all the characters that had been involved there. So then near the end of Blackest Night, a White Lantern ring flies into the Black Lantern power battery and reanimates the Anti-Monitor. And that panel of the anti-monitor, like coming out of the black power battery, that I was like, oh shit, because I hadn't read anything else with the anti-monitor other than Crisis on Infinite Earths when he destroyed Infinite Earths. So I was like, fuck. I didn't know he had like been back briefly and was sort of like depowered a little bit and things like that. So when that moment happened, that one, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, they shit the bed now. That one legitimately shocked me and scared me a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, let's head over to the Instagrams.
I don't know this one. You just came up with this one.
We're heading over to Instagram, take some photos and then answer them.
There you go. Thank you.
You like that?
Yeah, actually I do.
If you listeners ever want to send us a song for any of these sections, please do so, because we will play them on here.
Just give us a 5-star review, go to iTunes.
No, this part they can just send. The best one was the one that we'll use. But
okay, sure.
Yeah, anybody ever at any point, if you play with the GarageBand app, by the way, on your iPhone?
If you want to send us some drops for these little like sort of segments or breaks, then we'll
absolutely do that. We'll play it.
Yeah. We'll doughboys it. We'll play your drops.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So Instagram, we have Axel H90.
All right.
I'm wondering if it's Twitter Axel.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nice. What's up, Axel?
Yo, what's up, Axel?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's too bad. Really?
Are you actually talking to him?
No shit. Oh,
Richard,
that's cool.
Richard, huh? Axel's been dead since 1923.
Chuck Hughes. So Axel H90 asks, Batman, he's more states now. Batman is a popular man having enemies, but other than the Joker, who do you think is Batman's most dangerous and interesting storyline-wise arch-enemy? So it was a question,
yeah. Who do you can't use the Joker? Who do you think is Batman's greatest archenemy other than the Joker?
Himself.
Well, you could definitely make the argument for that, but let's say for the purposes of this, you actually have to pick one of his rogues gallery. There's a few that I think could legitimately. I don't think it takes too much arguing, but I'm curious which way you'd go.
I would say that I mean, part of me wants to go Two-Face.
Sure,
because there's that connection between the two of them, that like a friendship and
one of Batman's greatest failures.
Yes, and so I feel like there's a lot of like internal angst that goes with Two-Face, as well as like this sort of like constant like feeling like, because there's the two sides of him, you constantly feel like you maybe are breaking through to him, and that keeps Batman vulnerable at all times.
Yeah,
so I think there's that. Yeah, I think probably Two-Face.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Batman is that a lot of his villains are that like broken mirror kind of thing, right? Like the Joker is the chaos to his order.
Yeah.
Two-Face is like his sort of fractured morality, right? That like he's trying to do this for justice, but he's routinely breaking the law and he's violent and things like that. You know what I mean? The Riddler is like the mirror of his intelligence. The Penguin is like the mirror of like Bruce Wayne's wealth, status as like a socialite and things like that. Like they all kind of...
Wow, I didn't even thought about it like that.
They all kind of camp on a different part of like Bruce or Batman's psyche, right? Like they're all like dark reflections.
Mr. Freeze is that connection to like family.
Yeah, doing anything,
emotion,
doing anything to rectify that, wrong or whatever, right? Yeah, there's a lot of that in there. I think if we're not using the Joker,
also Joe Chill.
Well, I mean, Joe Chill, but not really arch enemy status.
No.
Because...
Well, I mean, except for that was like the reason why he became the Batman.
True, but then that was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it was his first arch enemy.
Joe Chill's not like after Batman. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have that relationship. I'm tempted to go more Two-Face than Riddler, but I think it's between them.
It's Alfred. Colin's always wanted.
Two-Face, I mean... No, do you know what? I'm going to go back on that. I'm actually going to say Riddler. Because the Riddler is... He's a great archenemy for him because he comes after Batman. Two-Face sometimes just commits crimes or is doing this thing and then Batman stops him, right? He's not always like targeting Batman. But because of the nature of the Riddler's thing where you try and stop me, Batman, can you solve it? He's like... He's going after him, and that's a thing an archenemy does, right? Joker goes after Batman. the Riddler does that too, and I think maybe for that, he'll edge out Two-Face. I think in my power rankings there.
Nice.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that. All right. The Nerd Fawn sends a question.
All right, let's have it.
He asked.
Hey.
He asked, what's more compelling? Straight evil characters as villains, those who run polar opposites to the hero, or those who oftentimes the anti-hero like Sinestro, Lex, Black Adam, depending on the story. In short, a villain you love to hate or a villain you hate to love.
Well,
what's more compelling?
I think for me, the one that's more compelling is a villain you love to hate. I think in some ways even though I just earlier said that the stories are maybe slightly less interesting, I think I like the evil characters. I like that there are forces of nature out there that cannot be reasoned with.
Yes.
Something like the Joker or Grodd, or yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily as narratively compelling, but there's something really, if what you want out of a villain is that they kind of scare you, that's what's scary. If you can rationalize or, if you can convince or just pay Deathstroke a bit more and then he'll help you, that makes him less scary. So if you want your villain to be terrifying, then I really dig that. I get the flip side though, where you kind of hate to love them, because that's the Breaking Bad thing, right? It took me admittedly too long, but I was seasons into that show and I was is Walt the villain?
Right, yeah.
I was on his side.
It's Mad Men too, right?
And then I was what the fuck? I can't be rooting for him. I made it all the way to season 5 and I was maybe he'll turn it around. And then he killed Mike and I was you motherfucker. I was
yeah, there is no turning back. Yeah.
Villain.
He makes it up at the end though.
Does he? Fucking Hank, man.
But Jesse,
that does not make up for it.
And the paying for
that does not make up for it.
No, I guess not.
By that point, right?
Yeah.
If if he had gotten out of the game in season 3, then you could maybe make the argument what was the hero of the story? But I definitely get that. A character like Vandal Savage or Sinestro or Black Adam or something like that, where they're the hero of their own story, but they're definitely not the good guy.
No.
Although, yeah, I mean, Walt is objectively evil, I think. By the end.
Did you watch Mad Men?
No, I haven't actually seen all.
Really? Oh, because he really
Don?
Yeah, Don Draper really. One of my favorite theories is, so the way that Mad Men ends isn't really spoiling anything, but he basically he walks away from the advertising business and joins this. Well, he goes to this sort of 70s sort of spiritual retreat place,
right?
And you're to believe that he kind of walks away from it, but then they kind of wink at the end that he kind of returns. But Jessica has this theory that he leaves and then ends up going to this southern city and getting a bunker and putting in these girls into the bunker.
Oh,
and that's Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh no. That's hilarious headcanon, though.
It's the same actor, too. It's
oh, fuck, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the headcanon thing that it didn't work after the second half of season 5 of Breaking Bad, but where they're he goes into protection and becomes Hank from Malcolm in the Middle. or Hal or
Hal, yeah. Oh, God, it's so good.
What do you prefer in a villain? Do you prefer the just straight up evil, or do you like the ones that are kind of anti-heroes, or do you like the ones that sort of are the opposition, Batman and the Joker are complete opposites, or Lex and Superman are complete opposites, so Brain and Bronze?
No, I'll go same as you. I think that I want to be worried,
right,
when a villain shows up. I want to be genuinely concerned. I mean, there has to be some sort of reasoning behind it. At least there has to be some sort of, it can't just be a psychopath, but yeah. I definitely prefer the sort of love to hate.
Actually, I can think of, this is backtracking a little bit, but I was thinking of Scott Snyder because him and Greg Capullo, their run on Batman really like upped the level of sort of like creepiness or like tension that like I would actually get like concerned reading a comic. Like Court of Owls were super creepy and stuff like that. Joker, obviously. But then also that goes over into like Swamp Thing when Snyder was writing that. I think Anton Arcane is up there, like where I get worried, like creeped out and super concerned when Anton Arcane shows up, because he's basically undead. He's a necromancer. He's like I think he's like a necrophiliac as well.
Nice.
But he's also like kind of unstoppable when powered up.
Yeah.
So he's definitely in there for me too, but he's another one of those, like basically just like a force of evil. He's not really redeemable or reasonable. Yeah.
Speaking of people I love to love, it was not a segue. Josh Gill. The real Josh Gill.
Gill.
Little Gill. He asks, does a hero need an arch-nemesis or an opposite to be successful? And then also, who has the weakest / lamest archenemy?
I mean,
Scarlet Skier.
It's got to be Scarlet Skier, right?
Yeah.
But not compared to how weak or like lame Gnort is. They're kind of made for each other.
Who is the one guy that was really, really lame and like was terrible, and then he got really, really good in later on? I remember you telling us about a villain who was really, really bad, and then he ended up like getting like they wrote him as like really, really good later on.
Oh fuck! I mean, that could be a few of them.
He was really shitty in the beginning, though.
Oh god, I wish I could remember who I was talking about there. Yeah, I mean, they've played that idea though. That in Batman Eternal, it was a 52 issue weekly series where Batman basically went up against every one of his villains. He's trying to like unravel this plot.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's like, it's got to be the Riddler, or it's got to be Ra's al Ghul, or blah, 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 blah. And you find out that it was actually like a D-list villain that he had sort of punched in the face in issue number 2 called the Clue Master. And that the Clue Master had basically orchestrated this whole thing to take down Batman, knowing that the weak spot in Batman's strategy is that he wouldn't consider him a threat.
Yeah.
Which is kind of amazing. It's kind of
genius,
brilliant.
yeah.
The Clue Master ends up dead at the end of that story, but like that's kind of an incredible way to play with that idea of being like a lame villain of an amazing hero or something like that.
So I think like
Tar Pit to me is a lame villain.
That's pretty.
Because he can't do the shapeshifting thing that Clayface does. He's just walking tar. And his first caper was to steal the Stanley Cup for some reason.
Canadian?
It's just. I think he's kind of a shitty villain.
It's a Maple Leafs fan. He's just like, I'm not going to get this any other way.
Yeah, yeah. Call me Tar Hoser.
I think a hero. To answer the first question, I think a hero does need an arch nemesis. I think for me at least,
lots of heroes have them. There are some that don't necessarily have.
I find less compelled to a character if they don't have good villains in general. I think that's one of the reasons why Batman is so well thought of.
It's basically like Batman and Spider-Man have like the two best kind of rogues galleries.
Definitely, yeah.
I think if you're...
That being said, I think Superman doesn't have any ones. I mean, Lex Luthor could be the only one you could really directly point to. And I think he balances out between villain and...
General Zod.
But, I mean...
Brainiac.
Yeah, but...
Parasite.
None of those feel like the arch-nemesis to me. They feel like big villains that show up a lot, but I wouldn't consider any of them.
I mean, it's definitely Luthor. Like Luthor wins.
Luthor's so constantly not the bad guy.
Well, only recently though.
Yeah.
But he's swapped back. He's sort of crossed back over to villain again.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah. I wish I could think of like more lame villains. Aquaman's got a bunch of like shitty like one-off villains that are all.
Are you concerned that Mantis is going to have that helmet, or do you want him to have that helmet?
Sorry, Black Manta?
Black Manta.
Oh, I want him to have that helmet.
Yeah.
Are you
going to be
He's
pissed?
not Black Manta if he's not wearing the helmet.
Are you going to be pissed if he's...
And he's really not Black Manta if he doesn't take the helmet off and say, "Have you ever wondered why they call me Black Manta?"
Are you going to be really pissed if he looks at the helmet and goes, "I'm not going to wear that silly thing"?
Another time. If he does the thing from Iron Man, like Rhodey looking at the suit. Like, next time, baby.
Yeah.
And then they recast him. Yeah, that would piss me off. Yeah, he's not Black Manta if he's not in the suit. He's just some guy that hates Aquaman for no reason. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have one in mind, like a super lame villain, like just one where you're like you're not worth the time the hero has spent? Beating you up.
one that immediately came to mind is one we've already brought up, which is the Penguin.
Oh, really? That's a pretty big name to throw.
I know, but I was like, does Batman have any really lame ones? And then I was just like, the fucking Penguin. Like, what is...
The Penguin, like, represents that whole, like, mob thing, though, right? Like, he's, like, the arms dealer. He's the...
Yeah, but what does he really ever do?
You mean, like... I mean, he has a pretty vast, like, criminal enterprise.
He does, but what does he do?
You mean, like, as a power or something like that? He's got all of his trick umbrellas.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's pretty lame,
I'm saying
right?
it out loud, and I'm like, you're not helping.
No. Excuse me. He's got all those cool umbrellas.
Yeah.
It's lame. It's a little lame.
That's fair. Yeah, okay. I'll give you that.
So I'm just saying, I think that they do need an arch-nemesis, even if, like, it doesn't... they don't all have to have that nemesis in it, but they at least need to have a strong rogues gallery.
If you want them to be in that sort of, like, standard comic book superhero-y thing, you need a super villain. If you just want someone who just, like, rights wrongs, you don't necessarily need that, right? Like, if you're just saving the day or beating up bad or like crooks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're like a real street, like Green Arrow has archenemies, but I actually don't think Green Arrow needs them. To me, Green Arrow works when he's just fighting like organizations and shit. You know, like this big arc that was just in with the Ninth Circle. Like, I don't ever need to see the Ninth Circle again, but like that was great. He was just fighting this organization. I mean, he's got villains like Count Vertigo or Brick or I mean, those are a couple of the big ones. But, or you know, like the Dark Archer and Malcolm Merlin and stuff like that. But to me, Green Arrow doesn't actually need... Black Canary doesn't really need arch enemies because they're so street level. I kind of like that they're just like helping people, getting people off drugs or whatever, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's the sort of alternative to that is you really have to ground the character.
Yeah. If you're going to be like superhero-y, then you need like a colorful villain or something like that. But if you're like really like in the thick of it, like on the street, like social justice warrior like Green Arrow, I don't think you actually need one. To be compelling. Really? In some ways it distracts from it.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think
because then the fight isn't about like what you're fighting for. It's like that person's coming after you. You have to like save yourself or, you know, stop them. Right. Like it's not, it's sort of a distraction.
Yeah. I can agree with that for sure. Yeah. All right. The Dr. DC podcast will be back after this quick break. Hey, residents. It's producer Richard here. Just wanted to take a quick break in the middle of this podcast to talk about our amazing sponsors, Great Lakes Grooming Co. Just want to talk to you about a couple of different products that I actually use almost every day. I just used a peppermint lime lip balm. It's awesome for chapped dry lips. It smells really good. You don't get that weird sort of like thick goopiness that you get from some chapsticks. It's great. It's super affordable and definitely something that I cannot sort of exist without. The air is very dry up here and I definitely need a lip balm all the time. The other product is the Noble Selves hairstyling cream. I've got pretty thick hair and I tend to have a hard time finding hair products that work really well. Either they're too thick and they get sort of like stiff in my hair and feel really hard or whatever, or they don't hold strong enough. And then I have to put a ton of it into it. So it becomes expensive as well. This has like a medium to light hold, but honestly, it's got a super soft feel and it actually does the job that it needs to do. It holds my hair in whatever position kind of I want to put it in. It's perfect for everyday use and casual styles. It is a water-based styler. You're not getting a ton of those terrible chemicals that you would with some of the off-the-shelf stuff. Because of that, it washes out super, super easy. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy to use, ready, rain or shine. It's one of the only like sort of styling companies that I actually can continuously go back to, and it's something that I used before we even got a sponsorship. All their products are purposely designed and environmentally responsible in Canada. So if you're here, great, much less shipping. If not, it's totally worth the cost, and it's actually super affordable. If you're from America, you got that American dollar, so it'll even cheaper for you to buy. But they like to say it's ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. So whether you're where we are, up in the Great Canadian North, or down in the American South, wherever it may be, you guys can definitely count on these products to be great, no matter how you need to use them. And for you lucky residents, we have a 10% off that Great Lakes Grooming is going to offer on any regular priced products. All you have to do is go to their website, www.greatlakesgrooming.com, and just use the promo code DRDC Podcast. So remember that website again, www.greatlakesgrooming.com, and just use the promo code DRDC and then just podcast. Now back to the show. And we're back. Hey, there we go. Well, we're heading over to email.
Check it to email.
Thank you. To email, go do the email.
Corn chips are no place for a mighty warrior.
So we got a question from
emailed. Oh, my inbox.
Are you done?
So, are we done with Homestar Runner? Was that
Homestar Runner?
Hey guys.
Hi guys.
I was about to try and do Strong Mad. It wasn't gonna happen. Homestar.
Oh, hey there, gonna do this.
Good jorb.
Good jorb. The amount of times that I say good jorb in my life and no one ever responds to it.
I'm so happy, like, as an adult, to now like realize how many other people watched Homestar Runner, because for a long time I thought I was the only dweeb that like found it funny. And like now that like I'm into my like 30s, and like every once in a while someone will say something like good jorb, and I'll be like Coach Z, and they'll be like Coach Z. Like, oh my god.
Every once in a while they're just like, what?
Yeah.
I just talk like that. Do you remember when they made the Cheetar?
Yes. Yeah.
That was I wanted that so bad. It's fucking rad.
That would have been pretty cool.
So our question from the email comes from Rihanna.
All right.
Rihanna asks, can an arch-villain ever win? I know in comics, writers will always make it so the hero wins. But what I mean is there something about being an archenemy to someone that means that you don't want to win? Because if you did, you'd kill your only reason for existing.
That's a really interesting point.
I mean, that comes up a lot when you talk about the Joker.
Definitely with the Joker. Also with Black Manta, who we brought up. When Aquaman was dead, Black Manta like became like a fisherman or something. He was like he was a fishmonger. He like sold fish in a market. And as soon as Aquaman had like come back to life, he like basically like started gutting people, put the helmet back on, and was like, I'm fucking back. In Forever Evil, when he thought that Aquaman was dead, the only reason he didn't completely hang up the towel was that he wanted to kill the crime syndicate for killing Aquaman from him. I mean, that's definitely in there. There's an assassin and martial artist in DC called Lady Shiva. Mm-hmm. She's like one of the greatest martial artists in the DCU, and she's a member of like the League of Assassins and stuff like that. And her thing for a long time was that she would keep challenging people to fight to the death.
Hey, you want to fight about it?
Just like that.
Yeah.
But fights to the death. Because she's testing herself.
She's looking for someone who can either kill her or make her better.
But literally that means you're either going to just keep going or you're going to get killed. So yeah, I think you made the point that like ultimately her goal is to be killed in combat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because otherwise it's not finished. It's not like she gets there, she's like, I did it, I beat them all. Like she's always going to be fighting.
It's like war, it's an honorable death.
Yeah, exactly. It's that sort of thing. I don't think that's true for every character though. Like if Hal Jordan ceased to exist, Sinestro would acknowledge it, but would continue on his way. Continue doing what he was doing. You know, if Billy Batson was killed, Black Adam would keep doing his thing. You know, if Superman, if he finally succeeded in killing Superman and kind of got away with it, didn't go to prison or something, Lex would. I mean, that's perfect. He would just keep going, right?
Yeah.
In the case of the New 52 Superman, when he died, Lex took up the Superman shield and wore his cape and like became the hero of Metropolis for a bit. So, I mean, maybe that's proving the point that it destroys their like reason for being an archenemy. But I think there are some characters that can survive the loss of their hero, but maybe there are definitely those that it's either like the fun or the thrill of the chase or the fact that it's the only thing they have that holds them back. Certainly in the case of Aquaman and Black Manta, at the beginning of this Rebirth run, there's an issue where Aquaman basically straight up says, kill me, go on, what would you do then? And it stops him cold. Like Manta can't do it. So there's definitely a point in there. That's a really interesting question. I like that one.
Me too.
Yeah.
For the last question, we're going to go over to Reddit, where everything is happy and no one's ever mean.
Sure.
This one, let's do a lightning round.
Oh, okay.
Because the question is each. So it comes from I am Scatman 4242. I'm a Scatman. 42. Oh my god. So they say each superhero has an arch-nemesis, but who?
Oh fuck.
Give me all you can think of.
Oh
so
shit.
I'm gonna do a lightning round and just let's go with their ultimate. I'm on comicvine.
Okay.
.gamespot.com, and they've listed a ton of DC characters. It'll start easy, and then we'll go a little bit harder.
So you're gonna like just list heroes, and I'll say who I think their archenemy is,
and we'll see if you're right.
Well, that's not a right or wrong.
Well, it is based on this thing, so
that someone wrote.
This seems pretty right.
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay.
Who's Dr. DC?
Okay, fair enough. All right, Superman,
Lex Luthor,
Batman,
Joker,
Wonder Woman,
Cheetah,
Green Lantern,
Sinestro,
Flash,
Reverse Flash,
Ubarthon, yeah. Hawkman,
Shadow Thief, or Hathset.
Hathset is on there, yeah. Martian Manhunter,
Despero, or Malefak.
Yeah. Plastic Man.
Is it what's his name, Mr. Dome or something like that? Or Dr. Dome?
Yeah, that's it. The Atom.
Kronos.
Yeah. Captain Marvel.
Black Adam. Or Dr. Savannah.
Dr. Savannah is on there.
Dr. Savannah.
He was right. Green Arrow.
Count Vertigo.
Or
Dark Archer, like Merlin.
Yeah. Black Hawk.
Oh, Killer Shark.
Yep. Watchmen.
Sorry, the Watchmen.
Yeah, just all the Watchmen.
I guess Ozymandias.
Yeah. Teen Titans.
Like Brother Blood or
Deathstroke, yeah. Jonah Hex.
Quentin Turnbull.
Yeah. V.
Sorry?
V.
What, like V from V for Vendetta?
Yeah.
Well, we're really we're including Vertigo in all of
Apparently,
it?
that's...
So it does... I don't know. I don't remember the name of the fascist overlord in that.
It's just somebody named Adam Susan, which is hilarious. I'll let that one slide because it's... Yeah. Aquaman.
Black Manta.
Firestorm.
Killer Frost. Really? They didn't have
Multiplex.
Yeah, Multiplex is a big one. Yeah.
Blue Beetle.
What is this? Ted Cord Blue Beetle, or like is it Maxwell Lord, or is it Black Beetle, or is it
Masked Marauder?
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Nightwing.
I would have said Deathstroke for Nightwing.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Spider Jerusalem.
Pass.
This Gary Callahan is probably the worst villain name ever.
Can we go back and insert that into who's the lame one?
Yeah, Gary Callahan. Oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, and then it starts going into Marvel.
There's all sorts of like weird ones though. The Creeper has Proteus. There's lots of characters we haven't named that have archenemies. Black Lightning has Tobias Whale. Ambush Bug has a sentient sock in a Doctor Doom mask called Arg-Isle.
That's right. I do remember you telling me about that one. Yeah.
The Golden Age Flash has the Thinker. Golden Age Green Lantern, I would say like Solomon Grundy. Vandal Savage, you could make the argument it's either Rip Hunter, the Time Master, or the Immortal Man. Most characters have some sort of arch-nemesis, right? Yeah. Fuck. Now I'm trying to think of like
you did good.
What heroes they didn't mention.
You did good.
Yeah.
Those are some great questions. For a last minute one, you guys did really, really good.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, thank you guys for pulling through. That was clutch.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. Wow, fucking just really dating yourself, aren't you?
What? Because it's clutch?
Yeah.
Stop trying to make clutch happen.
Oh my god, so fetch. If you want to send any more questions, you can do so through our various social media platforms such as Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast,
Twitter,
at Dr. DC.
We got a website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
Am I missing anything?
Email.
drdcpodcast@gmail.com. Look at that. And then make sure you go to iTunes. I said it at the beginning, but I'll say it again. We've been getting
cut it and like slip it in.
No. But like we've been getting actually a ton of reviews lately, which has been great. We really appreciate that. We're coming up. We're not coming up that quickly, but we're heading towards that 52 reviews. If we get to that, which we're heading in a great direction. If you guys keep it up, we'll make Colin read Superman for all seasons.
That'd be amazing.
And then if we get to 100, we'll do a vote and you guys can choose what he has to read after that.
Oh, fuck.
So
tight.
And then if we get to 200, I don't know, I'll make these guys eat something weird.
I'm not eating any pie.
Hey, you like the pickled egg.
What a throwback. Yeah, find that episode, guys.
Oh god. So some kind of sign off.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.